Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of World of Immortals based on novel. So let's start. Xiao Chen decided to go probe around the vicinity of the ghost town. He must get to the bottom of this, otherwise he wouldn't be able to feel at peace. Lawrence and Buddhist Asian didn't plan to explore for ghost town for a short period of time. Their most important mission now was to nurture the young dragon kings. Only until the two young syndicate dragon kings had enough power to protect themselves would they be willing to leave their side. They needed to seek for a place to train. The situation on the Dragon Island was very complicated at the moment. Only strength represents everything. After the calamity in the ghost town, as well as that massacre previously, several hundred practitioners on Dragon Island died. Now, there were merely a little over 100 practitioners on the entire Dragon Island. Almost all of these people were lone wolves. If they also participated in the battle that day, and were forced into the ghost town, perhaps there would only be a few practitioners left on the Dragon Island now. Xiao Chen originally wanted to go probe around the vicinity of the ghost town, but he found that area was still brimming with baleful aura. The bloody radiance was unpleasant to the eyes. He changed his mind in the end. That place was too dangerous at the moment. He decided to not take any risks temporarily. When the few of them walked in the mountain woods, they were shocked to find that the rain of blood did not fall on these region at all. It seemed like only the Sea of Bones and that deathly still forest were affected by that rarely seen rain of blood. The few of them heaved a sigh. That region was seriously too dangerous, and that night they massacred until that place by chance. It was indeed following the path to their own doom. There were many beautiful landscapes on the Dragon Island. Xiao Chen and the gang found a spiritual mountain pretty quickly. The fine woods were flourishing, the wisteria were all over the place. It could even be said to be the intoxication of a beautiful spring day. The spiritual energy was dense, that was even a waterfall in between. After experiencing the calamity in the ghost town, everyone felt delightful to see this kind of beautiful spiritual land. Their body and mind loosened up. There was a crystal clear lake in the bamboo forest. Xiao Chen was currently free swimming in the middle of the lake. He washed off the dirty blood all over his body. It seemed like his spirit had also received a baptism. His mind was empty and calm. He unconsciously operated his secret technique. The entire water surface was rippling. Xiao Chen was shrouded by the drizzling mist. Soon after, the lake water calmed down again. It seemed like he had become a part of the tiny lake. The surrounding fishes were no longer afraid of him. They were swimming beside him. Xiao Chen felt as if he had really merged with the heaven and earth and became a part of nature. In the end, he submerged into the bottom of the lake and sunk into a fantastic martial zone. His entire person already no longer required to breathe. Endless spiritual energy entered his body from the skin. The impure energies were discharged by nature. God knows how much time had passed. Xiao Chen finally opened his two eyes and rose from the bottom of the lake. After he surfaced, the golden rays of light spilled from the east. It allowed him to take a bath under the dazzling morning sun. Lawrence, who was jogging at the side of the lake, was incomparably shocked and said, "Don't tell me you were in the lake the entire night." "Oh? I guess that was the case. I also never thought I would actually lie dormant from yesterday evening until now." Xiao Chen flung his dripping wet long hair and walked towards the shore. The surface of his body was flickering with a crystal clear luster. It was like a layer of jade flower had been smeared on his body. It seemed like you had undergone a peculiar transformation. I also felt as if some transformation had taken place. But Xiao Chen was unable to pinpoint accurately what kind of changes had taken place. However, just at this time he said, "Asian is also coming over here." After saying these, he blanked out for a moment, because he was unable to see Asian nor could he hear the voice, yet he was completely sense Asian getting close. Sure enough, Asian walked over from a bamboo forest not far away, which confirmed the feeling he had a moment ago. Lawrence was dumbstruck. Only until Asian appeared in his line of sight did he discover him. Practitioners on their level were nimble. They normally wouldn't make any sound when walking. And Xiao Chen actually relied on his spiritual sense to find Asian approaching in advance. Although the distance was not too far, this kind of foresight with spiritual sense was still really miraculous. Our good captive is really so diligent. She is actually preparing breakfast for us. There are Mongolian gazelle's leg, deer breast, coconut juice. Xiao Chen spelled it out one by one. Lawrence quickly rushed into the bamboo forest and found that it was exactly as Xiao Chen had said. Under Rowena's supervision, Yang Qingcheng was preparing those breakfast. In regards to Xiao Chen's conspicuous spiritual sense, Lawrence and Buddhist Asian were extremely shocked. Without your eyes nor your ears, how far can you perceive? Lawrence asked. I guess roughly 100 meters or more. How terrifying, no one will be able to mount a sneak attack on you from hereafter. Buddhist Asian was deeply moved as he said, this seemed to be an ability that only surfaced when one reached the Historia realm. Exuvia, Historia, Zephyrus, Nirvana, and Immortalis were regarded as the 5 major realms for the practitioners. Once they entered the Historia realm, the practitioners would gain some bizarre divine ability. Xiao Chen's ability to sense the surroundings without sight or sound could be considered as a kind of divine ability. Xiao Chen just made a breakthrough to Exuvia 7th celestial layer not long ago. There was still some distance from the Historia realm. And yet a divine ability had already emerged. This was definitely a rare event. Time to eat. The extraordinarily beautiful Rowena called out to the 3 men from the bamboo forest. Enjoying the sumptuous breakfast served by beautiful woman while appreciating the fragrance of flowers and birdsong not far away, as well as the clear mountain spring, they felt extremely pleased. Their nervous mood in the past few days finally eased up. At this entrancing and flourishing spiritual land, Xiao Chen trained with a relaxed mind. His pure energy became more and more condensed. After his martial technique improved, he felt that he was able to absorb the worldly essence much faster than before. It must be mentioned that Rowena was really responsible and diligent. She actually wanted to turn Yang Qingcheng into a gorgeous woman. She diligently gave her instructions every day, which made Yang Qingcheng clench her teeth in anger. The 3 skeletons were training, Lawrence and Buddhist Asian were also training, everyone was striving to increase their own strength. According to what Lawrence had said, training for 1 year on the Dragon Island was equivalent to 3-5 years of training in the past, because they might die if they didn't have enough strength at this place. Everyone had no other choice, but be forced to devise ways to make a breakthrough as soon as possible. Only Keek was the most leisure. It would go provoke the 2 young dragon kings, when it had nothing to do, which caused the birds and beasts in this region to run away frantically due to the dragon roars. Xiao Chen, are you using the true God Slayer technique? Asian was currently swapping pointers with Xiao Chen. He saw how Xiao Chen used the God Slayer technique before. He was very surprised after the inquiry and said, legend says that after the God Slayer technique reached a certain level, it was possible to slay a god efficiently. It is an extremely terrifying killing move, but nobody was capable of mastering it. Asian saw how Xiao Chen was already able to display such a huge power with his current ability. He was indeed somewhat fearful. Xiao Chen didn't hide anything and passed this technique to him, but Buddhist Asian was unable to display its full power with his Buddhism law. It seemed like this killing move was specially customized for those who trained in the divine monolith's law. After hearing Xiao Chen's presentation, there were still 3 techniques as powerful as God Slayer, the chaotic patterns, demon suppression, and death blow. Buddhist Asian was truly a bit speechless. In fact, Xiao Chen only focused on practicing the God Slayer at the moment, because one technique could evolve into endless variation. He still haven't grasped the essence of this first technique. Actually, after the life and death experience in the ghost town, Buddhist Asian had reaped a huge benefit too. The ancient scripture in the Buddha's eternal will had embedded in his heart for eternity. At the same time, the Buddha's eternal will had increased his power from the 5th celestial layer directly to the 7th celestial layer. After training on this beautiful spiritual mountain for a few days, Xiao Chen and the others clearly felt the baleful aura in the heart of the island had become weaker. And this was already the 7th day since the ghost town appeared. Xiao Chen hurriedly left this place and made his way to the vicinity of the Sea of Bones in order to look around. As for Lawrence and Asian, because of the Azure Dragon King and Jade Dragon King, they stayed behind. The 3 skeletons also didn't leave and continued to train at this place. Only Keek followed Xiao Chen delightfully. With his current ability, a few dozen miles were nothing. He quickly entered the deathly still forest and arrived just before the Sea of Bones. A few dozen practitioners concealed themselves at this place. They were all watching the ghost town from the sidelines. They paid close attention to everything that happened there. Xiao Chen arrived just on time. The sea of blood in the sky slowly retreated, and the brass trigrams, divine halberd, and metal engravings in the ghost town transformed into 3 light beams and left the ghost town. As for Buddha's eternal wheel, it embedded itself back onto the ancient city gate. Soon after, all the dragons flew out from the ghost town. Their divine ability seemed to be weakening at lightning speed. They actually landed on the ground as soon as they left the ghost town. The last to fly out of the ancient city was the ancestral dragon's horn and ancestral dragon's claw. They flew towards the direction of the sacred mountain. Everyone was incomparably shocked. The dragons really seemed to have lost their divine ability. They merely recovered their divine ability for 7 days, and then returned to their original state. Regardless of the kings of dragons such as the monarch lion dragon and the tyrannical dragon, or the common dragons such as the elephants Draco and the others, all of them were using brute force to run towards a distant location. Not a single dragon were able to fly again. 7 days. Such a mysterious 7 days. How did something like these happen? The ghost town in the middle of the Sea of Bones also gradually became duller over time. In the end, it actually completely disappeared in the boundless Sea of Bones. Only the 100-meter-tall ancient divine monolith stood there. Everything had disappeared, as if nothing happened in the first place. However, regardless of the deathly still forest, or the boundless Sea of Bones, the traces from the rain of blood remained. This was the only evidence that left behind. Only until a long time later, when the dragons distanced themselves, and the forest became quiet, did the practitioners dare to approach the Sea of Bones. They wanted to get to the bottom of the matter. Among the dozens of practitioners, the majority of them did not enter the ghost town. When the rain of blood descended, they didn't enter this terrifying, ominous land. Spellmaster Schroeder and Psychic Lanyu was among the group. Xiao Chen had met these two before. He was unable to recognize the rest. Xiao Chen also entered the Sea of Bones. He found the solitary sword demon at this place, as well as that mysterious woman shrouded in colorful mist. Almost all the survivors who had entered the ancient city before were present. They were the most concerned regarding these. All of a sudden, Xiao Chen felt someone was spying on him. This was his foresight ability, without relying on sight and sound. This was the new divine ability that came into his possession recently. 50 meters behind him, a young man with pale complexion was currently sizing him up. Even though they were still a distance apart, Xiao Chen could feel this guy was extremely dangerous. He had a feeling that even the solitary sword demon was not a match for him. Although he didn't turn around to watch, he already clearly captured that person's appearance with his spiritual sense. That was a 20-plus-year-old youngster. He was medium-sized and couldn't be considered handsome. His complexion was abnormally pale. It seemed like there was no flowing blood. For some reason, a weird feeling welled up in Xiao Chen's heart. It felt like he had seen this person before, but he couldn't recall it at the moment. The youth with abnormally pale complexion was clearly not spying on Xiao Chen alone. He also spied on solitary sword demon, Lanyu, Schroeder, and the other experts. All of these were clearly sensed by Xiao Chen. What was he doing? Xiao Chen remained calm and collected. He continued to use his foresight ability to observe him. All of a sudden, Xiao Chen's pair of eyes emitted two divine light. He felt a nip in the air. He saw the red birthmark on the left wrist of the youth. It was identical to a shocking memory in his mind. He once excavated the ice coffins at the snowy mountain. Each coffin had a piece of casted-off human skin. All the 3 human skins had this kind of red birthmark on their left wrist. It was exactly the same. At last, Xiao Chen finally realized why he felt this youth looked so familiar. If this youth had more wrinkles on his pale cheeks, and had thinly spread white hair, then he would look exactly the same as those 3 human skin. It was the old ghost in the ice coffins. Xiao Chen secretly sucked in a mouthful of cold air. How did this happen? His original speculation actually came true. This kind of bizarre old ghost actually existed. If that was the case, then doesn't that mean this old ghost had lived on this dragon island all along? That means he had lived for at least a few hundred years. But why did he spy on me? Xiao Chen had this kind of doubts. Being watched by this kind of bizarre old ghost, anyone would feel a sense of danger. God knows just what was this old ghost planning. Looking at how young the old ghost was one more time, and yet so pale, it really looked like a living corpse. Words couldn't even describe how eerie and frightening it was. In the end, the old ghost distanced himself and disappeared from this sea of bones. This was a great misfortune. He must think of a way to defend himself, or even eliminate the old ghost. Just when Xiao Chen's state of mind was very unstable, he felt a very familiar aura. It seemed like the barbarian tribe's young expert Chaos was glancing left and right not far behind him. However, Xiao Chen was completely gobsmacked. Even though the aura was very much like that of Chaos, that was not the same person. 1. Silver, ain't this the magic perception? They should be a pretty common ability. In most of the recent stories tilde, I guess this story really takes place a really long time in the past. Chaos was about 3 meters tall. He was a powerful beast-man brimming with wildness. He had a pair of wolf ears and a long tiger tail. And the person that was glancing around behind him was actually a fatty. His stature was not lofty at all, he was short and stout. People get the feeling that he was especially simple and honest. Even when he was glancing around, he seemed a bit foolish and stupid. This was too strange. Xiao Chen could indeed sense chaos aura from his body, but why was the body a different person? Suddenly, he felt a nip in the air and quivered momentarily. Could it be that chaos was already dead, and then resurrected with a different corpse? After all, he experienced too many strange and terrifying things during the ghost town's calamity. He instinctively thought of something like this. In addition, there was also the bizarre fact regarding the Snowy Mountain's old ghost. How could he not let his imagination run wild? The simple-minded fatty circled around the Sea of Bones. After that, he actually crossed the Sea of Bones and walked towards the southernmost direction. Xiao Chen was not too familiar with the southern part of the island. He had never explored that region before. However, he went after him this time and decided to find out the origin of this little fatty that possessed chaos aura. When he was following the little fatty, Xiao Chen found that the solitary sword demon and the mysterious woman shrouded in colorful mist were also following closely. They didn't even try to avoid him. When they crossed the Sea of Bones and entered the mountain woods, Xiao Chen walked over to them and said straightforwardly, "I suspect there is an evil spirit borrowing corpse to return from the grave. That's why I came after him. What about the both of you?" The solitary sword demon sneered, likewise. I could feel the aura from a certain beastman that left a little impression in me from his body. But that body doesn't belong to that person. I also chased after him for the same reason." The mysterious woman answered like this. Xiao Chen was finally convinced. His feeling was not wrong. Something strange was going on here. The silly little fatty was not as simple as his outer appearance dictated. He seemed to be very perceptive. He constantly changed his direction in the mountain woods for fear that someone was tailing him. This made Keek, that was following at Xiao Chen's side, blink its glittering big eyes unceasingly. It seemed to find this very fascinating. They kept going southward for about an hour or more. Only then did the little fatty enter a wide mountain forest. He was no longer turning left and right, but Xiao Chen and the others were not worried at all. It seemed like they had already reached their destination. But just at this time, Keek jumped onto Xiao Chen's shoulder. It extended one of its little paw to pull his long hair. After that, it kept glancing backward with its big eyes. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He pretended to stop and probe around. Not long later, the Snowy Mountain's old ghost entered his perceptive range. He could clearly see him following them. This was definitely not good. Xiao Chen saw the solitary sword demon and that mysterious woman in front. It seemed like they didn't know the existence of this old ghost yet. Xiao Chen remained calm and collected. He continued to follow them. Not long later, they found a small village in the ancient forest. The surroundings were enclosed by ancient trees. It would be hard to find this village if they didn't search thoroughly. The small village only had about 70 to 80 households. They could hear the cries of chicken and barking dog. It was brimming with the scent of countryside. It made Xiao Chen felt as if it was a lifetime ago. There was actually a small mountain village brimming with livelihood on this kind of uncivilized dragon island. It was a bit unreal. A fit of coughing transmitted over. A spectre-like old woman appeared behind Xiao Chen and the others. She sighed faintly and said, "Youngster, why are you guys following my grandson?" Xiao Chen felt heavy-hearted. His foresight ability did allow him to detect the old woman in advance, but the other person was seriously too fast. He clearly saw a figure approaching them from the forest like a wisp of smoke. The solitary sword demon held his metal sword and retreated to the side, pulling some distance from the old woman. And all traces of that mysterious woman shrouded in colorful mist were long gone. It seemed like her ability was really outstanding. She already concealed herself from the old woman in advance. "We don't have any evil intention, we only wanted to investigate something." Xiao Chen was very calm. He looked at this crooked old woman with white hair before him. "You want to investigate our village?" The old woman's voice was somewhat cold. No, Xiao Chen decided not to beat about the bush. It was not necessary to cover up the truth with some excuses, he said. "We felt the aura of an acquaintance from the body of the little fatty. We thought it was very strange, so we followed after him. We wanted to find out what is going on." "You felt the aura of an acquaintance. Don't tell me that so-called acquaintance was your friend." Although the old woman was speaking quite gently, Xiao Chen's prophet-like spiritual sense could feel a trace of danger. No, truth be told, he was my foe. Between me and him, only one of us would be able to keep on living. Oh, the old woman nodded her head. At the same time, Xiao Chen felt the danger faded away. How about you? The old woman turned her head to look at the solitary sword demon. Although the solitary sword demon was conceited, he also didn't want to stir up trouble with a powerful enemy without clearly understanding the opponent's strength. He used his index finger to point at Xiao Chen and said, I am the same as him. My intuition tells me you guys are not lying. Then this will be easy to deal with, I don't mind telling you. That beastman known as Chaos was killed by me. I implanted 2 of the ancient beast souls from his body into my grandson. Xiao Chen and the solitary sword demon were a little shocked. They had once heard some beastman had ancient beast soul sealed within their body. It was indeed possible to forcefully remove them and implant them in other people's body. My grandson is also the descendant of a beastman. His body has an ancient beast soul. That Chaos didn't know what's good for him, he wanted to swallow up my grandson's beast soul. As a result, he was captured alive by my grandson. I punished him like such after bringing him back to the village. Xiao Chen and the solitary sword demon were speechless. Chaos was truly too unfortunate. He actually met this kind of fate. Let's go, we rarely get any visitors, let's go to the village and drink some tea. I know you guys surely have a lot to ask me. The old woman walked forward as she said these. Granny, may I ask, are you guys living on this dragon island all along? The old woman looked at Xiao Chen, her tangerine-like face revealed a smile, and said, I knew you were going to ask this. Our ancestors were like you, they came from the mainland. As a result, they were trapped on the island, we are their descendants. Although he already thought of the possibility, Xiao Chen still couldn't help but feel amazed. It seemed like he could see his own future already. Is he going to spend the rest of his life trapped on this island? Something's amiss, the dragon island was unsealed not long ago, why didn't you guys leave? Xiao Chen thought of this question. How to leave? Living on this island for a long period of time, our physique will change. It was just like a curse, we cannot leave this island. The old woman let out a breath as she spoke. Don't tell me there is no other way. There is, if you guys can subdue 9 Syndicate Dragon King, even if this island is already sealed, you will be able to safely depart from this island. Is that true? The solitary sword demon who remained silent until now also couldn't help but open his mouth to ask. The mixture of 9 Dragon Kings' blood can lift the curse of us later generations. The old woman looks absent-minded, she was a little excited. As they were talking, they entered the village. Although there were the sound of chicken cries and barking dogs, the figures of human was sparse. It appeared lacking of vitality, it felt a little lonely. That silly little fatty walked over from a courtyard and asked, Grandma, they are. You silly little boy, you were usually quick-witted, but today you didn't even realize you were being tailed. They were following me. The little fatty was somewhat vexed, then he appeared a little silly again. However, Xiao Chen didn't look down on him. This little fatty might be those kind of people that act like a hog to eat the tiger. Otherwise it was impossible for him to get rid of Chaos. The old woman brought Xiao Chen's party into the courtyard. She prompted them to take a sit beside the stone table, then she made the little fatty prepare the tea. Only then did she begin to talk slowly with Xiao Chen's party. The Dragon Island is sealed, even the sea area in the vicinity had also turned into the taboo ocean. Regardless of man or ship, everything that attempted to enter will be destroyed. But according to legend, there is a divine ship that can cross the taboo ocean. The old woman gave Xiao Chen's party a sliver of hope. What kind of ship? It was a divine ship built from the ancestral dragon's bone and heavenly tree. It was drifting in the middle of the taboo ocean all along. It already drifted for countless years. It can bring everyone on the island out of the taboo ocean. How do we find this divine ship? The solitary sword demon asked. The old woman took a sip of the tea, then she said unhurriedly, didn't I say it before? You need 9 Dragon King, they can work as one to summon the divine ship that drifted in the taboo ocean. Then don't you suppose we have a high chance of leaving here? The solitary sword demon was very excited. Then the old woman poured cold water, the prerequisite is that you guys must first find 9 Dragon Kings, and have them listen to what you said. You must make them agree to summon the divine ship for you. This was definitely an extremely difficult challenge. At that time, How many people wished to subdue the Amethyst Dragon King, and yet none were able to subdue it? Of course, if the solitary sword demon knew Xiao Chen, and his party had obtained 2 Dragon Kings, he definitely couldn't resist his urge to throw up blood. Is there nothing else we can use as replacement? There is, if you guys can find the legendary young ancestral dragon, it is also possible. 1 ancestral dragon can produce the same result as 9 Dragon Kings. The old woman said very calmly. The solitary sword demon was speechless. As for Keek, who was looking all over the place on Xiao Chen's shoulder, its glittering big eyes immediately turned perfectly round as soon as it heard these 2 words, the ancestral dragon. It waved its little paws exaggeratedly, that meant it was totally not convinced. Why is the village so quiet? Xiao Chen noticed how there were 70 to 80 households, but he only saw 3 to 5 people after entering the village. Although there are a lot of houses, the population already declined. In the end, there's not even 30 people left in the entire village. The old woman let out a long breath. Just at this time, a white-haired old man floated into the courtyard like a spectre. That was an aged psychic. 4th Grandpa. The little fatty called out without thinking. The old man answered briefly, then he furrowed his brows and said, "Not good, that evil spirit has reborn, I found his traces." What evil spirit? The solitary sword demon asked. An ancient evil spirit, it has lived for countless years. It was the only malicious spirit that had escaped from the ghost town. The old man's words immediately made Xiao Chen felt a chill. He recalled that old ghost that had undergone several metamorphoses at the snowy mountain. It seemed to have followed them here. The evil spirit had existed for countless years. It came from the ghost town. It actually originated from the ancient era. This piece of news was really terrifying. It made people tremble in the face of disaster. Back in those days, the village was originally not located here. Rather, it was in a valley with much prettier scenery, but they found a few dozen stone coffins when they dug the land to build the foundations. Only after they suffered a disaster did they move to this forest. And not more than 3 months later, the evil spirit appeared. That was the beginning of the village's nightmare. They were like animals that were reared in the pen. 1 or 2 people would disappear from time to time. The villagers knew it was the evil spirit that snatched those people's life. The old woman's ancestors also tried to resist before. They once thought of ways to eliminate the evil spirit, but everything ended up in failure. Moreover, they invited an even more terrible retribution. It was a dark history etched in their memories for all eternity. As the old woman slowly explained, Xiao Chen and the solitary sword demon's expression became heavier. The reappearance of that terrifying, evil spirit will definitely be a great threat to their life on the Dragon Island. The old woman let out a breath, as if she had just woken up from a nightmare. It seemed like a few more wrinkles appeared on her aged cheeks. In those dark times, the old woman's ancestors found a few historical remains of some ancient village. There were some written records in those desolate ancient village. Only then did they found out the evil spirit was an ancient departed soul, the only evil spirit that escaped from the ghost town. It was not an opponent they could hope to defeat. Imagine this, if there were people trapped on the Dragon Island in each generation, and those people's death were associated with the evil spirit, then some clues will more or less be left behind. According to ancient legend, some powerful evil spirits could forcibly absorb the vitality of the living, allowing their ghost-like body to transform unceasingly and thereby returning to the sun again. This kind of evil spirit were called demon. Those written records left behind in the ruined ancient village validated this legend. It was very obvious that the evil spirits on the Dragon Island were all demons. Fortunately, the malicious spirit couldn't wreak havoc for a long period. It was only for 1 year. When the time passed, it would search for a desolate place and fell into a deep sleep. It would continue to sleep like that for a few hundred years until the transformation took place. After that, it will emerge from the coffin again to assimilate the yang energy. The old woman's ancestors had experienced this calamity twice, which caused the population to decline. If they were to go through this one more time, then even after the remaining 20 to 30 people die, it wouldn't even meet the demon's minimum requirement. A complete annihilation was only a matter of time. If you say it like that, aren't we toasted? Although the solitary sword demon asked like this, he didn't carry a hint of fear. He was an unfriendly guy, a genuine cold-hearted guy. According to some written records we found later, we only have one chance at present. The old woman took a sip of tea to moisten her dry lips, then she said, the first 3 months, when he casted off his skin was his weakest period. only during this time would we have a chance of defeating him. Otherwise, he will be unparalleled after this time limit. We wouldn't even stand a chance, he will become a genuine demon. Fortunately, the malicious spirit couldn't wreak havoc for a long period, it was only for 1 year. When the time passed, it would search for a desolate place and fell into a deep sleep. It would continue to sleep like that for a few hundred years, until the transformation took place. After that, it will emerge from the coffin again to assimilate the yang energy. The old woman's ancestors had experienced this calamity twice, which caused the population to decline. If they were to go through this one more time, then even after the remaining 20 to 30 people die, it wouldn't even meet the demon's minimum requirement. A complete annihilation was only a matter of time. If you say it like that, aren't we toasted? Although the solitary sword demon asked like this, he didn't carry a hint of fear. He was an unfriendly guy, a genuine cold-hearted guy. According to some written records we found later, we only have one chance at present. The old woman took a sip of tea to moisten her dry lips, then she said, the first 3 months, when he casted off his skin, was his weakest period. Only during this time would we have a chance of defeating him. Otherwise, he will be unparalleled after this time limit. We wouldn't even stand a chance, he will become a genuine demon. The demon had already undergone dozens of transformation. He normally would have reached the perfect realm by now and became an existence that even the god wouldn't dare to provoke. But because the Dragon Island was sealed, the demon was unable to break through the shackles. It was firmly suppressed at the realm of demigod, and the demon himself didn't dare to take the risks and break through forcefully. Otherwise the consequences will be dire. The power of God is not permitted on the Dragon Island. Exuvia, Historia, Zephyrus, Nirvana, and Immortalis. The Zephyrus realm of the 5 major realms was also known as demigod realm. The gap between the practitioners on the island and the demon was as clear as day. Within the period of 3 months. Then we don't have much time left. Xiao Chen told them everything he saw on the snowy mountain. The old woman and old man were appalled, they revealed a terrified expression. The old woman said, he already morphed at an earlier time. If what you said is true, then 2 months might have passed already, it seems we don't even have a month left. The old man was gathering snow lotus in the vicinity of the snowy mountain, that's how he found the traces left behind by the evil spirit, but he didn't discover the 3 ice coffins in question. Part 1 end here.